Preston, let me just ask you in terms of, do you have witnesses present with you today?
No, I had witnesses, but the letters that I provided to you that were from those witnesses to stand up for me, he posted them online and gave out all of their personal information, and so they will not come. They don't want to be a target.
Major developments have been happening in the courts in Florida, and LIEnette has yet again done one of the dumbest moves yet. There are significant developments moving forward in the Florida cases right now, specifically with removing Judge Craig DeThomas's, which I'm going to touch base on later. But the whole aspect that LIEnette scrambled onto Facebook today, begging and pleading to scam everybody out of their money. Well, she went on to say, "Please help us. Both sides deserve to be represented. It's constitutional." Hold a second. Now, wait. She obviously knows what's happening. She's begging for more money because she knows she's in a heap load of problems and trouble. So it went from she's scared to death of me to now it's a constitutional matter. Let's keep going on. She goes, "Please, period. I need 2 attorneys along with my attorney here in Levy County. I'm innocent of all allegations. Not in jail." I'm shocked she didn't hashtag not in jail. And then she went on to her, it's a thing. We'll just call it that. And she went on to post, "Hello, I'm in need of Maserati tortoise pellets for my shell babies. I never thought in a million years I'd be in court in 3 different courts and need to pay 3 different attorneys." Well, here's the thing. When an individual such as LIEnette stalks somebody, harasses somebody, defames somebody, you pretty much can guarantee you're going to be in court. So not thinking she was going to be in court when she's the one that ran, in her own words, ran to the court to try and get an injunction on me, and she never thought she was going to be in court. Interesting. "I've done this for years on my own, but now I need your help." Well, she not only is begging and pleading and scamming and conning on Facebook, she's done it to YouTube viewers as well, who have watched What the Hales, that aren't in favor of LIEnette. They just don't like Jeremy. Sometimes Jeremy actually says what's on his mind. Sometimes Jeremy actually shares what he actually thinks, and that's not okay in this culture. LIEnette thought she would beg individuals to send in character reference messages to the judge. And this one's from Paul Hemroyd. Now, he loves to share about his accolades. As a matter of fact, this is a lot of what he's had to say about himself, and I'm going to share it with you right here. This is what he has to say. He is responding to Tracy Woods and says, "Here's the thing. I'll say it again. I've been watching JH long before Otter Creek." That's true. I've been doing this roughly about 5 years now, and I've been in Otter Creek since 2020. And so just a little bit before Otter Creek. And he says, long before Michelle Preston. Well, that's not true because there is no Michelle Preston. There is a LIEnette Preston, and that would be true. And she stalked me to Otter Creek. I went to Otter Creek. She followed. He goes on to say, all the way back before his previous girlfriend, Kelly. Well, again, that's not true because I've never had a girlfriend named Kelly. He says, I definitely don't need handouts. I retired in 1987 at 32 years old. All right, so Paul Hemroyd right now is retired at 32. And he says he retired. He says, unlike Hales, I actually do have a master's degree, a real one in adolescent psychology. Now remember, he's stating he has a master's in psychology. Now, anybody with any type of any formal education in psychology sees what's happening to this child and knows how demented and wrong it is. Keep that in mind because we're going to read what he wrote to the judge. Again, he says, a real one, which, by the way, I actually have a real accredited master's degree in organizational leadership. Focusing on nonprofits. And nonprofit is a tax status. It's not a business plan. It's business. You have to make money. You can't operate a nonprofit and keep operating if you don't have money. Nonprofit is what it's called in the tax realm. It doesn't mean you can't make a profit. You have to make a profit. And the profit goes back into capital improvements and things along those lines. The profit does not go in your pocket. That's the difference with taxes. And then he goes on to say, and in criminal science. Oh, so now he claims he was some type of detective or cop. Well, any detective and cop can clearly see what's happening on that property with the child is wrong. And believe me, I see what's going on. You, like many others, have been brainwashed into believing anything and everything. The slime's out of his mouth. I can give you a dozen names of people he's drawn in and then, I'm just going to say, pooped all over. He's a flash in the pan. Oh, okay, nice. Oh, and then he goes on to say, oh, and Tracy, since we're stacking on, I forgot I have an associate's degree. Again, a real one in theology. Okay, well, anybody who actually has a real degree in theology, which LIEnette does not, sees all the problems with LIEnette. But Paul Hemorrhoid here, let's face it, this guy is probably living in a trailer in his mom's basement in a dirty wife beater shirt with cheese puff stains all over it. And he has no life, which is why he's so invested in the storyline. And he's never met LIEnette before in his life. Yet he sends this to the judge. Let's take a peek. It says on 9/4/2023, to those it may concern. Well, if you know you're going to address a letter to the judge, why would it ever be addressed to those who it may concern? Especially if you have a master's degree in psychology. Psychology would tell you the way to build a relationship is actually use a person's name, not a generic term of those who it may concern. He should already know it's the judge, period. Obviously, his master's degree in psychology hasn't taken him very far. So let's keep going on. It says this letter is written on behalf of LIEnette Michelle Preston. Well, at least he got her first name right this time. And John Crook of Otter Creek, Levy County, Florida, in reference to the past and continued harassment they have endured at the hands of Jeremy Hales and George. DBA, that means doing business as, okay? What the Hales, okay? YouTube channel. Now, let's just stop right there. My hands have touched nothing. George's hands have touched nothing. Although they, both Crook and LIEnette, have stated many times, illegally, non-protected speech, what they're going to do with their hands to myself and George. Crook wants to talk about all the things he's going to shove up the backside of both me and George. LIEnette wants to talk about popping caps in our backside with her hands. Just keep that in mind, okay? And then he goes on to say this channel has approximately 650,000 followers and subscribers. Well, let's get something very clear. Subscribers mean nothing on a YouTube channel at all. It means nothing. It's the same as going on Facebook and hearting something. It's just because somebody liked it and they hit subscribe doesn't mean they watch everything. If everybody watched every video, I'd have, I don't know, there's over 700,000 subscribers now. This video alone would have over 700,000 views. And it doesn't, because that's not the way YouTube works. And nor does Hemorrhoid here know how YouTube works. Of course, he does have a master's in psychology, and YouTube uses psychology for its algorithm. You would have thought he would have broke that code, but no, he didn't. He's got no clue. And he goes on to say only one only has to view any of his 184 playlist of Otter Creek, what Mr. Hales refers to as Otter Creek, O-D-D-E-R, as to a means to degrade a township and its inhabitants. And he feels that are beneath him. Well, I don't feel that very many people are beneath me, but I don't feel that anybody is actually beneath me. I feel things that people do are disrespectful to others. When you are scamming, when you are conning, when you are defaming, when you are lying, when you are manipulating, the list goes on and on, that's not respectful to other people whatsoever. When you're trying to steal water from me, that's not respectful. And so, do I feel better than anybody? No, I don't feel better than anybody. God created us all in his own image. And whole Hemorrhoid here should know that. He's got an associate's in theology, right? And therefore, we celebrate all of the differences, whether it be gender, whether it be color, whether it be hairstyle. It doesn't matter. And cultural differences. Obviously, viewers who know what the Hales know, I love cultural differences. I've been all over the world experiencing those cultural differences, and I want to continue to experience those cultural differences. There's nothing I feel that's beneath me except the ground, for as long as the Lord allows that to be beneath me. People's actions are disrespectful, immoral, and inappropriate, and illegal. All right, but, as a criminal justice degree, he should know these things, right? Because He's got all these degrees that everybody else in the planet doesn't have. Let's keep going on. Miss Preston, he did get that right, MS, Miss Preston, and Mr. Crook have been the target of Mr. Hale's vindictiveness. Okay, so I go on for months and months and months dealing with their insanity. And then my patience wears thin and I go, no more. But now they're a target of me. That's interesting, very interesting. That criminal science background, it's just doing incredible things. That psychology background, oh my goodness. This guy's just too smart for us all. What are we gonna do? As are several of the other local townsfolk. This continual harassment is, in my opinion, libelous action. Well, if it was, then LIEnette would have filed a lawsuit, but no lawyer will take it on. LIEnette's own words, no lawyer will touch it. Why? Because she's guilty, and I've done everything under protected speech. But you would think he would know this. Remember that criminal justice background. Again, we're seeing a fool writing foolish things. But let's keep going on. All right, and it's gotten to be the standard operating procedure for Mr. Hales as he makes good share of his income posting videos on YouTube. Oh, look at that. Now old Paul Hemroyd is my CPA. He's my accountant. He knows my taxes. He knows everything about how I make income. Oh boy. Oh man, what am I going to do? How much do I owe him? Christian, is Paul my CPA?
I don't think so.
You've met my CPA, haven't you?
Not directly.
Oh, have you talked to him?
No.
Have you been to his office?
No. Well, yes.
Okay, you have been to his office.
I have been to his office.
What's his name? Is it Paul?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, we just cleared that one up. Paul knows absolutely nothing about my finances. As a matter of fact, I find it humorous as people try and guesstimate how much I'm worth and what I make. And it's all wrong. It's not just a little bit wrong. It's so far wrong. It's laughable. And I've shared this in the past. I'm going to share it again. I make absolutely nothing. I rather have employees that help and do good things for other people than to actually have an income. Lord's blessed me all the same, but I make nothing. I get no paycheck. All right, so let's keep going on. This behavior on the part of Jeremy Hales and George is nothing new. Reference What the Hales YouTube channel title playlist, World's Worst Landlord, Marilyn Raby, who is an elderly woman in Worcester, Ohio, who Mr. Hales and George attacked and mined for YouTube content. Oh yes, how I miss the days of Marilyn Raby, who sucks dried gravy. Christian, you got to miss Marilyn. Come on. What do you miss most about Marilyn?
He was climbing through windows.
I wasn't even there and she was locking you out of the warehouse. Remember the buckets you had to take to the creek to flush the toilet?
Yep.
Good times?
A lot of wet shoes.
Yeah, you miss it at all?
No.
No? Okay, well, you know what? Marilyn was a saint compared to LIEnette and Crook. And so those who may not know, I rented warehouse space in a little town called Worcester, Ohio. And Marilyn Raby was an elderly lady, and age means nothing, and gender means nothing. And she had a business partner. They got into a dispute, and then they put me and placed me in the middle of the dispute. So they had to go to court to take care of their issues, and then she had to go to court to actually kick me out. As a landlord, I know exactly how that works. You have to evict. And she finally, I don't even think she actually did a final eviction. We went through the court process, and then I agreed to be out at a certain day, which I was out at a certain day. And then I had a jury court session with her as well, but she had already declared bankruptcy. So I would have won in court, but since she already declared bankruptcy, there was going to be no settlement amount whatsoever that would have been awarded to me, and I just went, it's not even worth it. Why pay $10,000 more for a lawyer to get a judgment and then I get nothing in return for that judgment? So it's a business decision. Spend 10 grand and make nothing, or as Paul says, I mined it for YouTube content. So, if Paul was correct on this, Christian, I would have maintained and went forward in the court in the jury trial and would have shared it all on YouTube, right? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Paul says I mined Marilyn Raby for YouTube content. No, it's called accountability, and it's called actual proof, okay? Now, if I really, really, really wanted YouTube content, I would not be suing Marilyn Raby. I would have moved forward in court with Marilyn Raby, regardless if I would have ever got any money from Marilyn Raby. I would not be suing LIEnette. I would want this to keep going on and on and on. I would not be saying the smartest business decision for Otter Creek is to unincorporate. I would want Russ the Sus and Don the Con to keep this all up for my YouTube channel, right? Because Paul says I make so much money and I'm mining it for all this money. And yet here I am on this side of the camera going, Otter Creek needs to unincorporate. It's the smartest thing to do for the residents. It stops all the fighting. What happens to me with making videos? Nothing. There's no more video to make. LIEnette and Crook need to stop stalking, harassing, defaming. What happens to me if they stop? I have no more videos of it. I mean, these solutions are really, really easy. There's nothing to film for accountability. All right, nothing to film for proof. Okay, so he goes on to say that there are 27 videos in that playlist full of threats, innuendos, and in my opinion, outright slander. With this criminal justice background, his opinion all of a sudden matters to just him. That's it. Because I have a First Amendment right to say what I think and think what I say. That's who I am. That's what I do. I don't hold back. I tell you exactly what has made me successful and what makes me successful. Christian and I were just talking about this in the truck earlier as we were driving, that my body doesn't make me successful. So we were talking about the aspect of, in a video previously, I talked about the poor are poor on purpose. They make that decision. And there are some people who cannot get away from that stigma of that. And one of the things that I said, you either make it happen or you don't. It's my mind that makes money. My body, if I was disabled with my body, I would still be making money. My mind makes money. As a matter of fact, Paul gives a very good illustration here. If there's an individual who's disabled who says, oh my goodness, how dare you, Jeremy, I'm on a limited income. I can't believe you would say that. There are ways to make money. Paul just said it. You can make it on YouTube. How about you make a channel? You obviously are watching. You're obviously typing. You're commenting. You could make a channel and make money. According to Paul, it's lucrative. So there you go. My mind makes the money. My body doesn't make the money. And then he goes on to say, Mr. Hales and George found that drama and turmoil are profitable commodities on the internet, as can be seen in the aforementioned playlist. Except my storage unit videos have received millions and millions and millions and millions of views versus Otter Creek, which gets 100,000, maybe 200,000. And so, no, the profitability there, that's stupid. If this guy actually has a master's degree in psychology, pretty stupid psychology, if the business of YouTube is so profitable, I would continue with the storage units, right? I mean, all makes sense, right? I get millions of views, which should be more money versus hundreds of thousands of views or 100,000 views on Otter Creek or LIEnette and Crook. So what would really make the money? Storage units. Huh. And so here we go. Paul Hemorrhoid is yet again debunked. Not the smartest tack or the sharpest tack in the drawer or the brightest light bulb. And frankly, a few fries short of a Happy Meal. And probably a shell short of a turtle. All right, so he goes on to say that Mr. Hales almost seems fixated on Miss Preston and Mr. Crook, as well as their 3-year-old adopted daughter. Well, it's being contested. We're going to find out if that's actually an adopted daughter or not. In fact, Mr. Hales' obsession with the female toddler is, in my opinion, borderline psychotic, if not actually perverse. Oh, so we have an individual here with psychology background who has no premises, no actual evidence of any type of psychology in his letter at all. You would think if this is a psychological expert, he would actually be citing actual psychology terms and proof and things along those. Is there anything? No, he just says, in my opinion. Oh, it's not his professional opinion? It's not based on his psychology background? No, it's just him. That's it. This is a guy living in his mom's basement. Or this is a guy who hasn't showered in months. I mean, it's probably both the same. And then he goes on to say, Mr. Hales continually calls on his followers to harass Miss Preston and Mr. Cook. Well, I can guarantee you that's not true, because from the very beginning, I have said this over and over again. And many of you are coming to see us this week in Otter Creek for a half meal time to grill. I know hundreds, if not thousands of you are going to be touring Otter Creek. Number one, be respectful. Number two, be peaceful. Don't do anything foolish. Allow me to care for these issues the appropriate and the legal right way. Same thing as I said as you guys were in town for the half meal time to grill. Be respectful. Don't retaliate. Let me handle everything the right legal way. If you come into Otter Creek, and I've said this before, leave the locals alone. Period.
Right.
Now, if
You've
you
made that clear many times. Do not contact anyone in Otter Creek.
Turtle Sanctuary, if you want to go by Turd Sanctuary and see how bad it is, she's already put her address all over the internet claiming she's a sanctuary. So she's a public address out there everywhere. If you have the greatest intent, the locals don't need any more exposure. George and I don't want to be filming it. You've already seen we're not filming paying our water bill anymore. There's no more issue. The issues are corrected. There's going to be a point. We don't film town hall meetings anymore. The issues are being corrected. Once the lawsuit is all over, once everything is done, we just want to hide in the woods. That's it. Oh, Itchy Hemorrhoid here says, I've seen some of the foul text messages and the instant messages they've received. Oh, that's interesting. Did he see all the things that Crook has said about putting his short driveway, his little tiny half-inch pipe in George's mouth? I'm curious if you saw any of those things. Oh, how about all the racist things? I mean, the list could go on and on. All right, and he goes on to say they've gotten phone calls at all hours of the night. Many of Mr. Hale's followers are at his beck and call. None of my followers are at my beck and call. As a matter of fact, none of my followers have even my information, except LIEnette CROOK posted it all over the internet. And even then, I would still never answer to them. All right. And he goes on to say they've called CPS. They've called BBB, Florida Fish and Wildlife, just to name a few. Mr. Hales and Miss Risk are bound and determined to run Miss Preston and Mr. Crook out of town to get their daughter taken away in the process. Now, let's just stop right there. Because this is Paul Hemorrhoid writing a letter to the judge on behalf of LIEnette, stating that I've called all these institutions. And yet, LIEnette on June 21st, 2023, posts this publicly in her Otter Creek I Hate Jeremy Hales page that says, guys, we can't fix stupid. I refuse to let anyone insinuate or call me a liar and say that I didn't have in-depth conversations with all these agencies. The agencies that Paul Hemorrhoid just mentioned. Because none of us are being investigated. Jeremy's a liar, and they don't want to believe it because he's their savior. I haven't saved anybody. This is just ridiculous. Now this is perverse and insane. But she goes on to say, well, I'm sorry, but they're going to have to go drink the Kool-Aid because I did have a conversation with them. She's talking about all the agencies. And they did tell me the truth. And that's the end of it. I will call each agency tomorrow. I will ask if there's any way I can get an email or something else in writing to show we are not being investigated. We are not being investigated. Okay, and that's all I can do. These people said they're tired of phone calls, and I wasn't the first phone call. I was more like 50th, 60th, 70th. Oh my goodness, why didn't she go to 80th? So Paul's saying that I called all these organizations. LIEnette is saying I didn't call any of these organizations. I'm a liar. So these two are drinking each other's Kool-Aid. Well, it's not Kool-Aid, it's turtle soup. So they're in bed together drinking each other's turtle soup, and they can't even get their stories straight together in court. That's pretty concerning. From a lawyer's point of view, who is going to destroy the aspect of this woman's words. And not only this woman's words, old Hemorrhoid here. And an in-depth background check into Mr. Hales will reveal protection orders against him pertaining to his children and divorce. Now, I've touched base on this before. Whenever you're divorced in the state of Ohio, and many states in the United States, you immediately have a civil protection order. And that doesn't mean you can't be around each other. What it means is All assets are frozen on both sides. Husband, wife, it's all frozen. Nobody can spend anything without the other actually agreeing to it, which is the exact same in my divorce. Everything was frozen. Once the divorce is over, it's all undone. It's gone. And so that's standard. And so that's exactly what happened in my divorce. That's exactly what happens in every divorce in Ohio. It's exactly what happens in every divorce in many of the states in the United States. So there is no protection order against me with my wife. Ex-wife. As a matter of fact, because of LIEnette and Crook, it was me that kept telling my ex-wife she's welcome to stay here at Hale's headquarters for protection constantly, because people like Hemorrhoid were putting my children's personal information all over the internet, her personal information all over the internet, my personal information all over the internet. Now, you don't tell an ex-wife, hey, come stay at my place if there's a protection order, and yet that's exactly what happened constantly. This is the most secure place I could think of, and she was more than welcome to stay here. Now, regardless of whether she did or not, there is no protection order. And there's no protection order on my kids either. As a matter of fact, all three of my kids, all three of them can see me, contact me, talk to me, come with me, be with me anytime, anywhere they want. There are no restrictions. And you would think somebody with a criminal background, you know, that criminal history, he's so smart, he's got all those degrees, would actually do his homework and know that. And then he goes on to say, to my knowledge, the court ordered a psych evaluation as part of the divorce, and I'm sure his former wife would have had more in-depth information concerning that. And I will give him that. There was a psych evaluation ordered for both of us. And so that was part of the process as well. And you know what mine says? Normal person. You know what hers says? Normal person. That's all it says. All right, and that was for the aspect of custody and what we were doing with our parenting style and things along those lines. And so maybe we'll do an entire, that would actually be a good video. What if we did an entire video on my psych evaluation? That was like 10 years ago. I mean, maybe I'm crazy now. Huh. All right, we'll think about that. Good idea or bad idea, Christian? Psych evaluation?
I have no idea. I don't even know what that means.
They give you hundreds and hundreds of questions in a bubble questionnaire, and they ask the same question a million different ways, and you have to answer. And through your answers, they have. Well, you would think actually Hemorrhoid would know what it is because he claims he has a psychology background, but it's a test, and then they have a standard that it goes up against, and based on that, they can tell: do you have personality disorder? Are you a narcissist? Are you bipolar? Are you blah blah blah? And the list goes on and on and on and on. And so. So she had to take one, I had to take one, and we had to take parenting classes, and I mean, Ohio puts you through the ringer. So what if I told you I'm putting you on the spot again. What if I told you, don't ever get a divorce, right? Mm-hmm. Never, ever, ever. I'm not joking. Like, Ohio is not the place to get a divorce. They put you through everything. And you better never, ever get a divorce. That's the rules at Hale's headquarters. Okay. And I've told patients the exact same thing. So, and now they got Pepper, and so, anyways, we're gonna move on here to old Hemorrhoid, to things not as cute as Pepper. Which Pepper had a rough night last night, right?
Yeah.
She was up all night since 3:30.
Well, kind of like 1, 3, all night.
She might be teething. She might be teething right now, and Christian's tired. Okay. And then Hemorrhoid goes on to say, due to Mr. Hale's propensity, I'm surprised he even knows what that word is, to file FOIA requests and turn that information over to his cult-like followers. That's interesting because he's calling anybody who follows me cult-like. This is cult-like. This is cultish. Somebody who claims they're so educated and yet all the information is in front of them on camera. The proof is there. They've never met. He's never ever met LIEnette or Crook. This is cult-like. Then putting in a letter to a judge. That's Kool-Aid. That's cult. That's ridiculous. You don't write letters for people you've never met in your life. What do you think a lawyer's going to do in court with this? Have you ever met this person before, LIEnette? No. Have you met John Crook? No. Why in the world would you write a letter? A lawyer would destroy him. Completely and totally destroy him in court. And he goes on to say, my information will be limited to my email address. Any contact, if needed, could be directed there. Respectfully, Paul Hemorrhoid. Interesting. All right, well, cult-like member, right here. Only cult-like members write letters to judges. But he's not the only one, because we've got Marla Hughes, or who I like to call Marlie Huge, who has no friends in Levy County. People can't stand her. All she does is meddle and make messes. She creates drama because she has nothing to live for except creating drama. And she has never, ever met LIEnette in person. So let's see what Marlie Hughes has to say. She says, Your Honor, I'm writing this letter in support of LIEnette Michelle Preston and John Crook in opposition for a restraining order against them in the state of Florida. Oh, okay, well, let's see what it says here. My first encounter with, look at this. She can't even spell Michelle correct. I mean, how ridiculous. Mikola. It reminds me of Ricola, but it's Mikola. Mikola. Yeah, peacocks hear me. My first encounter with Mikola, supposed to be LIEnette, was when we were both trying to clarify why there were locks on the fire hydrants in Otter Creek. As if Marla Hughes has anything to do with Otter Creek. She lives in Bronson. Maybe she should focus on Bronson issues, not Otter Creek issues. She lives there, and I live in a sister city. Bronson. That sounds like a male name, not a female name. Marlie Huge. That sounds like a male name too, not a female. She could probably be WWE wrestler. Marlie Huge in this corner. What do you think her special move would be? Sitting on people. Yep, absolutely. All right. She lives there, and I live in a sister city a few miles away, and went fishing in Otter Creek often, so our interest was genuine. So Marla claims that she doesn't go fishing in Otter Creek anymore because a YouTuber moved in. Marla was never fishing when I was there in Otter Creek. Marla can't leave the house. She's so big. Pure and simple. That's what it is. It's her size. And she hasn't done anything about it, and therefore she can't go anywhere or do anything. It has nothing to do with any type of YouTuber. If she could get out of the house, you would think she would show up. Is she such good buddies with LIEnette? You think she would be volunteering constantly at this turd purgatory sanctuary. Now, the other thing I would love to share, since it's a sister city, why doesn't Marlie Huge actually move John and LIEnette next to them? Why doesn't Paul Hemorrhoid move them? I mean, come on. They have all the problems in the world with me. There's no problem with LIEnette and Crook. Yet neither of them have ever met these people. Neither of them are saying, hey, come move next to me. Neither of them is saying, hey, I'll give you a piece of my property. Neither of them ever seen them, ever talked to them one-on-one, person to person, ever. Why not just move them next to you? If they're not a problem, move them next to you. I mean, come on. You can hate me as much as you want, but if you love LIEnette and Crook, move them in next to you. They're begging for money, give it to them. They're begging for property, give it to them. And yet, nothing. All right, so our interest was and is genuine. My online research matched what she discovered from the fire chief in Chiefland, which works fires in Otter Creek. I'm not sure that's the right terminology, working fires in Otter Creek. Who puts out fires in Otter Creek? Makes it sound like the fire chief or the fire department in Chiefland is actually starting fires in Otter Creek. That's not a good thing. And then she goes on to say, the locks were not a problem. Even though Jeremy Hales was creating controversial YouTube video content off of their presence. Well, it seems to me that the bulk of the residents of Otter Creek were concerned there were locks on the hydrants. Had nothing to do with Jeremy Hales. Nothing's ever changed in Otter Creek because Jeremy Hales has been there. The only thing is Otter Creek is the exact same. A camera is showing what's been going on the entire time. All I do is film it. That's it. Otter Creek has always been the way that it is. It better change, and it better change in a hurry for the better, because now the planet is seeing it. All right, let's keep going. Along with the hydrant issue, he also created content about his water bill being $25 more each month than he felt it should be. He stated repeatedly that except for the water bill issue, he would not care about anything happening in Otter Creek at all. I wouldn't care about Otter Creek. Otter Creek's stealing from me. I wouldn't care about Otter Creek. I got stalked to Otter Creek. I care about those issues, my safety and theft. And I don't want it to happen to others. And if Marla Hughes is so concerned about it, how about she moves into Otter Creek so they can steal from her too? Right next to Crook and LIEnette. Oh man, wouldn't that be the tag team duo right there? Whoo! I could see them in the wrestling ring if they could actually get up there. You know, Marla being too big and then Crook being wrapped up to his crotch. See what happens. All right. And we keep going on. And he says he sent his followers. He sent his followers after people in Otter Creek, harassing them using state agencies and even the IRS, making false claims about Michelle slapping her daughter in the face in the public, not caring for her property, DHS, animal abuse through her legal and well-respected well-respected turtle agency. Oh my goodness, Turtle and Tortoise Rescue. Well-respected Turtle and Tortoise Rescue. That's literally what Marla put here. I'm not joking. Look. Well-respected Turtle and Tortoise Rescue. Oh my goodness. But yet again, as Marla is going through all that, LIEnette says, I didn't call anybody. Nobody called anybody. Nothing. Nope. It's all a lie. He's just a lie. Just a lie. Boy, you starting to feel the same way I am that Marla's a cult follower of LIEnette? Marla's definitely, I mean, she ain't just drinking that turtle soup, she eating it. Maybe if she cut back on it, she could actually go live life. But I digress. Okay. Making false claims about Michelle slapping her daughter in public. I ain't the only one that saw it. Patients saw it. All the residents of Otter Creek have witnessed it. And the list goes on and on. All right. Animal abuse through illegal, her well-respected tortoise. That's ridiculous. Levy County Health Department, which they're actually doing an investigation right now. Other agencies to go after others. He has targeted. He uses Florida State reporting agencies, calls number to pass them out to his followers all over the world. Oh, she got that one wrong. She obviously didn't know the Thomases at this point. The proper terminology is planet. To call in, fill out forms, making accusations based entirely upon his edited videos and explanations, often containing false information. Oh, interesting. How many times do I have to debunk Marla Hughes? Well, we'll just keep doing it. And doing it, and doing it, and doing it. This woman is so ignorant, it's ridiculous. But she can tell you the best foods to eat. And even when he went to Winn-Dixie in person to get the 8-month contract that they had with Michelle revoked. Whoa, pause there. She had no contract whatsoever. There was a drug addict that was giving them food this really upsets me. So there was no contract whatsoever. There was nothing in writing whatsoever. The supervisor, the manager of Winn-Dixie knew nothing about it. It was illegally happening. And it was from an individual that was at the actual Otter Creek campground who was working at Winn-Dixie, who's now been busted for rugs again, who was giving the food illegally to LIEnette and Crook. Period. End of story. Want to see it? It'll be in court. But now Marla Hughes wants to say there was a contract. Yet again, debunked and will be continually debunked. All right, revoked for her to receive the unusable vegetables to feed her turtles. And he had to lie about her throwing trash and vegetables and meat from Winn-Dixie on the side of the road. Here we go, claiming more lies. And yet the reality is, this is the news. This is WTH News. And what I share is the truth and nothing but the truth. And my opinions go along with the truth. Now, what do I think of Marla Hughes? Well, I think you kind of figured that out already. She's a cult follower of LIEnette. You know what? Maybe LIEnette is an actual minister. Now, granted, she got a piece of paper online, which is ridiculous and means absolutely nothing whatsoever. But it would seem as though Hemorrhoid and Hughes are both following her like sheeple. I wonder when she's giving out the turtle soup to everybody. Okay, and it goes on to say, that's been disproven by Otter Creek resident who spoke up in her defense. No, it hasn't at all. As a matter of fact, Gail, who she's referring to, is the one that shared with us that is Crook and LIEnette shooting random firearms at black Jeeps that go by on the property before we were even there. But let's keep going on. That's been disproven. The culprits are the visitors at the hunt camps who have taken their trash with them when they leave their camps, as if this woman knows. She lives in Bronson and she's housebound. And now she's going to talk about my opinions, but yet this thing is just filthy with ridiculous opinions. All right. And we've already shown the evidence. There's one person in Otter Creek that wears diapers. It's the child. Inappropriately, should be potty trained. And the diapers found on Dead Dog Road match exactly the diapers that the child wears. End of story. That's called evidence. That's not called opinion. It's so extremely silly to me that a 200-pound man, look at this. It's so extremely silly to me that a 200-pound man, supposedly in his prime, is trying to convince people, including law enforcement, that a 60-year-old, 85-pound woman and a senior man with a knee full of concrete antibiotics are a threat to him. Okay, all right. Well, that's odd because this 85-pound woman wants the world to know she's a threat to me. I could care less about whether she's male or female. As a matter of fact, this concrete need gentleman, I could care less about his gender. I could care less about their weights. I could care less about their ages. What's in their hands? Two things that are way less in weight than they are. Has no bearance or any value in the aspect of stating gender, age, pounds, concrete. This is what's wrong with them. They are freaking off the chain, like her anxiety, off the roof, over the roof, and all the other things she said. They're insane, freaking insane. And what do insane people do? Insane things. And what do they have? Firearms in their hands. Now, Crook is wrong half the time. Could he hit the side of the barn? No, but he could get lucky. And she's on rugs. She's proven it. She's posted it. I'm not sharing anything that hasn't been posted by them already. Could she hit anything? They could get lucky. I don't have to know about their weights, know about their genders, know about their concrete, know about. They are not right in the head. And what's in their hands? Something that will hurt, something that ends life. And they constantly want to post it and talk about it. And there's more than enough proof in the residents of Otter Creek that they have constantly used them. So let's go on, because Marla thinks it's so silly. So silly. Oh, wait. Hold a second. Oh, that's right. So silly. Here's LIEnette's criminal history. So silly. I mean, there's more pages that I can even hold here. So silly. Here's Crook's criminal history, violence. So silly. It's so silly. It's so silly that Marla hasn't invited them to her home yet for dinner. It's so silly that Marla isn't giving them a piece of property to move to. It's so silly. This cult follower of LIEnette, the Church of the Pole Dancer. All right, what else do we have here? In fact, in my opinion, it's the other way around. He has stated openly he's trying to destroy them, force them to move, using his huge stage on YouTube. Last I checked, I'm not on a stage, I'm in a hammock. An America hammock, which people will get offended by that too. There's never going to be a video I put out that people aren't offended by. I can put a video out of just Pepper, just laughing and happy, and people will be offended. How dare you put a baby on YouTube having the time of her life? No stage, none whatsoever. As a matter of fact, YouTube doesn't work like that. There is no stage. As a matter of fact, all these fools don't understand how YouTube works. None of them. They have no concept. And it's funny to actually try and them listen or read them trying to talk intelligibly about it, and it's so unintelligent, it's ridiculous. They have no concept, no clue at all. All right, but we've got the stage, okay. And often letting his followers do the dirty work for him. That's interesting. I've never had a follower do any dirty work. Now, we can talk about Crook and LIEnette. Let's see, there was the hit. That's still under investigation, but we aren't going to talk about that anymore, except to say that it's under investigation. And yes, they're pulling all of her Facebook history, her information, everything. But we're going to keep going on. These followers leave awful reviews on review sites. What does Marla do on YouTube constantly? Marla goes on other channels that I'm associated with, my friends, and leaves horrible reviews, says horrible things. But she's worried about reviews? How ridiculous. How ridiculous. Marla is the one that gets blocked and banned from every Facebook group in the Levy County area and other Facebook groups. Terrible comments on a rescue page, creating nasty memes, even traveling. That's called jokes, first of all. Memes are jokes, or it's reality and truth. And even traveling from near and far after leaving messages on their social media profiles about going after them physically. He is letting his employee Deanna, she's not an employee, she's an independent contractor, use his property for an event on October. Could these people please spell check? I don't even know how you get this dumb. I understand one accident, but this is just pure stupidity. It's the turtle soup. They're all eating the turtle soup. And it goes on to say, in October, and John, I'm very concerned for the safety and Michelle's disabled daughter, and I hope you make the right decision, and it goes on and on and on. Well, what does LIEnette have to say about the firearm in John's hands? After requesting the unedited video and looking at every inch of the video with the heavy-duty equipment that the police at the sheriff departments, they determined that Jeremy Hales edited his video to make it look like John Crook pointed a gun at him when in fact John was not arrested. That is true. Crook was not arrested. What isn't true is Levy County Sheriff don't even have body cams, let alone high-tech equipment, heavy-duty equipment. And the proof is right here. It's pointed at me. End of story. Period. They didn't arrest him because they said I didn't show fear, and for the statute, there has to be fear. Frankly, I didn't know he did it until I went back and looked at the video. That's how I found out he did it. If I would have seen it, I would have been fleeing out of fear. What does Judge Craig DeThomasis have to say about all this? Well, let's go back into court and pay specific attention to what LIEnette has to say about this.
Preston, let me just ask you in terms of, do you have witnesses present with you today?
No, I had witnesses, but the letters that I provided to you that were from those witnesses to stand up for me, he posted them online and gave out all of their personal information, and so they will not come. They don't want to be a target.
These witnesses never showed in court, number one, because they don't even know who LIEnette is. Number two, most of them don't even live in Florida. Marla's in Bronson, where the court is, and she didn't even come in support. And what does the judge have to say about all this?
Ms. Preston, if you're not relying on those and those witnesses are not here, it's likely those are all hearsay.
It's fine.
And they're not going to be
I
relied
don't need
upon.
them.
So my question to you is just a matter of logistics. I got one other case substantively. I just want to make sure that if we're going to have to deal with tech issues or whatever, timing issues, so you have no other witnesses, correct?
Not at this time, John.
This is the time, so if
But
we're ready.
I have a child that has a life-threatening metabolic disorder. We cannot leave her with anyone. So we can't keep her safe that way from catching the virus or some kind of illness. So I can't have my other witness come because he's in the vehicle with the child. It's fine. It is what it is.
Well, you might have given me the reason, but without the answer, which is, really, I just want to know if you're the only witness.
I'm the only witness.